We're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, and which we have a casual and informal discussion about Star Trek: The Next Generation. And today we are finally at our season 3 recap. We're going to talk about season 3 with Trekker Prize. Hello, Trekker Prize. Oh, you suddenly went mute.
Am I? Have I?
Oh,
Really?
now
You're back.
You're back.
Wow. So hello.
Hello.
And the Doctor.
Hello.
All right, let's say we just get right to it. Season 3, Star Trek: The Next Generation, standout season, in my opinion. I think we noted time and time again over the course of our rewatching and our discussions how many good episodes there were in the season, and I also see it as kind of a turning point after season 3. Star Trek: The Next Generation, I feel, comes into its prominence in a way, and now moving into season 4, 5, and 6 and 7, it's like a different kind of tone or a different kind of vibe, and we'll see if my memory serves me correctly as we continue our journey. But I'm really glad to have you guys here because you were both prominently in the discussions, and again, thank you, because there wouldn't be a discussion without you. I also want to take a little time today to just answer some questions that we've had from our listeners online. Then, there's a few questions on YouTube, and they're kind of interesting, and maybe we could take a crack at them since the three of us are here together. So that's that.
Sounds like a plan.
Shall we begin?
Let us begin.
So I guess season 3 opened with the episode Evolution. Do you remember that episode? Stubbs' egg? Gary, your sound's totally gone.
Hang on, I'm still here.
There you are.
There you are. Yeah.
Maybe you just have to plug the headphones in all the way.
Oh. How is it now?
Now it's great.
It's great.
Cool.
You're fine.
Cool.
Okay.
I gave you a little engineering device here. Do you remember the episode Evolution?
Remind
Stubbs' egg. That's how we started.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Yeah. Sure, I remember. That was kind of that was a trippy one, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I remember because of the theme song at the really beginning of the episode. You know how the Enterprise is just sitting there in space, and it's beautiful, and that beautiful music underneath is just beautiful.
A great way to start the season.
Exactly. I remember remarking that it was an unusual choice, but what we liked about it, I think, was that it was truly like something new, exploration, science. It was not like, just, it was a great way to start the season. You're absolutely right.
And we got the new uniforms as well in this episode, with this episode.
Right.
So that's right.
Some of the crew. What's that? Yeah, new uniforms in a slightly different set. We noticed the lighting changed, a lot of things like that. It's a Wesley-centric episode, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he and his nanites.
Oh, and we get the nanites, which, by the way, well, we're not talking about that yet, but they come back. They come back.
Come back, yeah.
The nanites are mentioned again. We did talk about, there's a really cool...
Oh, yeah, this is the intro scene. This is it.
There's a really cool sort of book that National Geographic's and science communicator enthusiast type writer wrote about Star Trek and its impact on the science community. And it is true that a lot of the science fiction that you see in Star Trek is based on science that's being done at the time, of the airing, and also science theory. And so I, as a young person who's interested in astronomy, especially, and astrophysics and all these things, you can only imagine, if you're watching Star Trek 2, that it only reinforces your desire to go into those fields. It certainly I didn't have the penchant for science, but it certainly made me think twice a few times watching Star Trek about whether or not I should pursue a career in the sciences. And so I've always been an avid science enthusiast, if you will. But yeah, Star Trek does that.
Well, it's a much better season opener than season 2's season opener, which was the one where Troy is
What a child.
impregnated by Zeus or whatever that thing was. I don't know.
I just want to show this little close up here because you could see like how exquisite the detail is on this shot. And this is because I think this is the remastered version of it. And you even see the depth of the windows in the ones that are not on. You can see like a little bit of a, like a pane or whatever. So it's just really good work on the restoration and remastering of Star Trek, The Next Generation. And we also figured out that we think that, I forget how we know this, but it's alternating companies that do the seasons of remastering. And season 3 is the same folks that did season 1, which we really love the job that they did. Not to say that season 2 wasn't, also superb. It's just something about this company or the way it's done in season 3. It stood out to me as crisper and clearer and just more like real looking, as if we were looking at models and not computer generated remastered versions.
I'd always thought the same thing, but did somebody correct us?
I think we might have been correct. And I just forgot the correction. William Peck, who is one of our listeners, maybe you corrected us, and we have such short memories, or I at least have a short memory. So
yeah, I think we were corrected on that.
We're so terrible already.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you gave this episode in terms of a rating?
I have no clue.
I don't remember either, but I do remember it was pretty high. Gary, were you a part of that discussion?
I don't think so.
Well,
I think I wasn't on that one.
Do you remember that episode?
Episode to really end just to see what was the
What's that?
What was the ratings? I can just go back to the first episode and just check the ratings, and they're really bad.
Oh, it's all right. Why don't you give us your rating? This is your chance to give us your rating.
So give a rating. Wow. Is it still the 1 to 10?
Yeah, it's totally 1 to 10. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go with a 7.
A 7. Okay.
A 7. I'll go with a 7.
We were probably close. I remember thinking really highly of this episode, so we were probably close. We're gonna have a database soon of Starfleet Boy ratings, so the next recap will have. Yeah, I'm working on it. It's like a slow project, but I'm working on it.
Okay. With the season opener, I guess the first thing that hits you is, with season 2, there were several differences that hit you right away. We had new cast, we had a brand new set. With season 3.
Very important to point out, we also had the return of Dr. Crusher.
I was talking about season 2.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Right. So with season 3, really the new things that hit you right away are, as you just pointed out, Dr. Crusher's back, and that was very happy for me. That was great. I loved having her back. But other than that, there's really no other new cast members to speak of, which was a little disappointing. No new major shifts. I mean, Geordi, because I remember Geordi joined engineering in season 2. So season 2 is kind of like there was a big, shuffle. Season 3 was a little low key. It was just Crusher's back, and that's it.
Yeah, you're right. It again, yeah, but I kind of like that. I like that. I mean, now obviously we know season 4 is going to start with a bang, with Best of Both Worlds Part 2.
Usually with a bang, yes.
And it kind of goes that way. So this is also the last time we see just like a casual episode, like a science, like not something that's a follow up from the previous season's cliffhanger. Because doesn't TNG now do cliffhangers like every season? And
no, I don't think so. I think there's
season 4 has a cliffhanger, and then I think season 5 has the data lore. The lore, the one of the seasons has the cliffhanger with the Borg ending. Isn't that correct?
I think it's season 6, The Descent. Is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
So there's Descent part 1 and Descent part 2, and then Unification part 1 and part 2. Aren't those also season?
No.
No. Okay.
No, bad. That's just the beginning of the season. Season 5, episode 7 and 8.
Okay, gotcha. Well, regardless, if memory serves, we get a cliffhanger though every season, after season 3. But I could be wrong about that, of course.
No, yeah, we do, absolutely. I'm just I'm just checking the episode list, and in where are we?
What's the season 4 cliffhanger?
Season 4, you have Unification. Oh no, hang on. Season 4, Redemption.
Oh, the Klingon one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be...
That's the one.
So season 5 is what?
Season 5 is Unification first, and then Time Zero. Unification is just the beginning of the season, basically the first half, and then Time Zero, and then in season 6, Chain of Command, just in the big middle of the season, and The Descent, and the end of the season.
Oh, okay.
And
so
season 7, you have just the front of the season, Gambit, and then All Good Things.
So 2-parters, but mainly the cliffhangers are now going to be a regular part of Star Trek.
Yeah, looks like.
Okay, so then you're correct. This is the last casual and informal season premiere.
Yeah.
Just kind of, here we are. We're back. You're
and
right.
And it's like it's not related to the previous season. There's not, I mean, like, that I did recall that. So that's an interesting thing. So,
I hadn't realized that you're right. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. All right. Let me ask all of you. Okay. There's a number of new characters, recurring characters that are introduced this season. I'm talking about characters like Vash, characters like Barclay, characters like Worf's brother, whose name I can't remember.
Kern.
What is it?
Kern.
Okay, Kern. We've got well, I mean wait a minute. What's his name? Isn't this Tomalak's first season as well?
Tomalak is here. We have Leah Brahms, who, not just reoccurring like regularly, but like just characters that like are prominent. I guess you're right. Yeah, Tomalak is in this. The
Duras. Duras is
the whole. Yeah.
Okay. Of all of those characters, which are the ones that you think? Which are the ones that are your favorite, or are ones that you're like, all right, yes, I'm so glad that they came back and all that stuff.
Well, the one that I'm really extremely excited about as an introduction is Barclay. I think Barclay was my favorite new character of the season. And then Vash would be a close second. I think, she's also really exciting. And then we get as far as reoccurring characters come, Tasha was a huge surprise and a welcome surprise in yesterday's Enterprise.
She's a returning character. Well, she's a return from last season.
That's what I'm saying, is like she's a returning.
I'm saying new from this season.
Oh, then Barclay wins for me, hands down.
Same here, Barclay. Plus the Enterprise C, if that counts.
What about you?
That's totally new character in the Next Generation. You didn't see that before.
I would actually flip it. I would no, I wouldn't flip it. I would say Vash first. I think Vash was of the characters introduced this season that would recur. She was the one that we get most excited about in later seasons. Like, all right, Vash is back. And Worf's brother, actually.
Kern, yeah.
I thought Worf's brother was a really interesting character, and I just loved just hearing that voice. He has such a great voice, that actor, Tony Todd. So for me, it would be Vosh with and Kern. Kern, a close second. And it's interesting with Barkley and with Vosh. You know, with this season, I think we're starting to see a new kind of character, which are characters that are purposely being written to return. Like I think the idea with Barkley, I mean, from the offset, I mean, that whole episode is basically Barkley. I don't think we'd had an episode quite like that in Next Generation before. It's almost like I mean, you just have this character who we've never seen before, and we just kind of hand over the episode to this character, and they're really, banking on the audience liking this person because the whole episode is about this person, pretty much, which I thought was very daring and interesting.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it actually sets it up that in a way that I thought we would see him even more than we actually did. But you're right. And then Barkley actually does, he is a reoccurring character that we see all the way up to First Contact. So he keeps
and even through Voyager as well in a couple of
Voyager, right to the end of Voyager actually.
Yeah. He's there in the really end.
He's at the very end, right? Yeah. And I guess among villains that were introduced to in this season, I guess I don't know if we really have any villains that were introduced.
You do. I mean, there's not like the Borg is like the big bad of the whole season, and you really only get them at the very end.
But they were introduced last season.
Yeah, right. But there wasn't any kind of the Romulans are, as you pointed out, they're kind of like a looming threat. They're kind of like built. It seems as if they're building up to something here with the Romulans, right, which we do get more of in subsequent stories. And I guess it kind of wraps up after unification, but that's the Romulan arc. But
not just even unification. I mean, there's a few episodes in season 4 that will have Romulans in it, like Data's Day. At the very end, but they're gonna have Romulans in it.
Right. And then the Romulans Nemesis, they're the big bad in that. And then we also have Romulans in the Star Trek reboot, which was interesting that it's not Klingons, so that's also an intriguing choice to bring the Romulans more into the prominence. I guess they weren't really a big deal, although they were cool until Star Trek: The Next Generation, I think. But I think that we had a lot of little bad guys like Kivas Fajo was certainly a unsavory character, and the Duras and the whole introduction of the Klingon stage.
Okay, yeah, they come back, obviously.
Yeah, and they come back. Yeah. And you get Damon Tog. Do we ever see him again? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. And I was surprised that Tomalak's only like 4 episodes in the whole Next Generation encounter. We will only see him, a few times. So yeah, you're right. There's
gonna be a bit of a dumb here with who's Tomalak?
Tomalak is a Romulan captain who kind of is. Yeah. He's like he's kind of like a. What are you getting all excited over there? Yeah, he's a Romulan Centurion, I guess, is what they would be called, right? The captains of the Romulan ships.
Yeah. Now it's interesting. Now, yeah, as you just pointed out, the first part of the season is very Romulan heavy, and I enjoyed that. And it was kind of carrying over from the second season, right? And the third season kind of starts off strong with Romulans. The first part of the season, because we have the episode where Geordi is marooned on the planet with the Romulan. Then we have
the enemy.
We have right. Then we have the one with the Romulan who defects.
The defector.
The defector. So, the enemy. The defector. Seeing a pattern here. And then Tin Man has a little Romulan subplot, you know, with they're trying to race with the Enterprise to get to Tin Man.
Yeah, and even Admiral Hansen mentions when they're gathering up the Earth's defenses in Best of Both Worlds, we're even thinking of contacting the Romulans to.
Which is shocking.
I'm really happy about.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a shocking statement.
Yeah, it really was.
More on that
later.
In our episode. On our letter conversation.
What about Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought. Sorry.
No, I just thought it was that first part of the season really had me going with the Romulan stuff, and I regret that it just kind of peters out. Now, of course, it peters out because after Best of Both Worlds, as you said, it's a turning point, and the Borg become the baddies. They become the heavies, and everyone just kind of goes Borg crazy, and we forget the Romulans. Do you think that happens?
I think that happens to a degree, but I also think that there's a sense of that the idea of Star Trek in many ways is that, like, you know, I think the Romulans become less of a threat just because there is more peace in the quadrant, so to speak. Like, there's not much conflict going on at this point. You have little skirmishes that you hear about, but like the biggest empires
but you're talking about in continuity. I'm talking about showrunners, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're in the universe. I'm talking macro god level. Like, okay, they could have made it more Romulan, but they don't.
They don't. I don't know why they don't do it. Do
the Borg steal the Romulans' thunder?
Kind of, because the Borg are really, if you think about it, of our time, they're the real threat. In many ways, the Borg touch on a very sentiment that lots of people have, and it's one that I think has shaped the way, and I'm sure Star Trek's not the only series that does this, but Star Trek did it so well to show a highly advanced technological society living in harmony with technology and not using technology as anything but an assistive tool to do things. And then you have the Borg, who have decided that technology is actually better than biology, and they've through obsession and of making themselves better and enhancing themselves, they become these like monstrous beings with no emotions and no humanity and no or whatever, no galactity, but no life form, I don't know what else to call it other than humanity, because in Star Trek 6, as we know, the very word humanity is racist, but when you're a Klingon or something else. But
I hear a scoff over there.
But she's right, as it were. Anyways, the idea though is that the Borg have lost touch with morality, and they're more just they only can think in one term, which is upgrade, enhancement. So I do think another show did it obviously before. Now that I think of that, upgrade word is the Cybermen, but but regardless, it's the same thing. It's like, how do you retain like what it is that makes life forms life, and I think the Borg represent this fear that we all have of becoming that, as we see more and more people using their devices at dinner time instead of talking to and engaging with the people that they're having dinner with, and more people live in a virtual world now. And and again, even in the season, Barclay is a great example of what can happen to you if you are too submerged into that virtual fantasy internal world rather than embracing the external world as well. So I think the Borg do overshadow everyone because they are a threat that's unstoppable. They are a threat that touch deep into the roots of our humanity, if you will, because of the way that they are absent of humanity, and also because of what we see in our daily lives with trends towards integration of technology into our biology. I think that's why the Borg are so fascinating, and they do overshadow, I think, everyone. Romulans, Klingons. There's no one, in my opinion, and still no one that is as menacing in a very unmenacing way as the Borg are, if that makes any sense.
There's a group somewhere in the US, but I know it from a documentary that William Shatner did, how Star Trek changed the world. And I think in part 2, he was talking with some guy from the US who basically was so against of Star Trek because the technological advancement that Star Trek predicted and presented, it will affect society in a really bad way, and we will become drones, and it's just not good. We should not having implants in our body, and mechanical parts that actually serves humanity, but then they have a fear of becoming Borg after a while, and it's already happening. Everyone is drones around, basically. If you see walking, and with all due respect, but if you see people walking with their phone on their head on their phone, and they, as you said, they talking over conversation, by they literally just messaging to each other instead of talking to each other in a dinner table, which is which is really sad, and it happens. And even if you go out watching a movie in the cinema, it's just everyone's in the phone, everyone using the technology, not paying attention, and the Borg and all them getting assimilated to too much technology, and just really reflected back then what's going to happen, and it's happening in a less big scale. It's not a big scale, but it's happening right now. It's scary in a way.
Yeah, and to me it boils down to, again, I don't see I don't see technology as the villain in this case, but there is an ideology at heart that separates. Because look, I mean, if you look at the technology in Star Trek, the Enterprise itself is one of the most advanced vessels, of its time, theoretical or otherwise, and it's I don't know what that meant, by the way. I just said theoretical or otherwise. It just sounded cool. But but my point is that like the Enterprise ultimately is a vessel. It's a tool, and the philosophy of humanity is to be explorers and to to understand others, and like to express friendship and like look for peaceful ways to resolve difficulties. And the philosophy of the Borg is, we will enhance your life by bringing your distinctness into our collective, and you will now service the Borg. And the only mission the Borg have, it's a very simple mission, is to assimilate the entire universe. And that's what's scary about them, is that they don't care about art, they don't care about culture, they don't care about much. And basically, even though they say this statement about like how we're going to take your society's distinctiveness and integrate it into our own, you don't see that. All you see is like every Borg looks the same. They're just cyborgs, or like these. There's not like a Borg that's wearing a skirt, or a Borg, or a pink Borg, or a blue Borg, or a green Borg. So
Borg plays in a piano.
Yeah, and so it's this idea of like, again, another struggle, which is the struggle against individuality versus the collective, right? And I think the Borg also personify. We should have had this conversation on our Borg episode, so we need to really move on from this. But since we're on the subject, the Borg personify collectiveness to an extreme, and ignore individuality completely.
Well, I mean, as the two of you have pointed out, the Borg really hit a nerve.
What's on his head? What's on his head?
It's just a little finger puppet. I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool to put it on his head. He's trying to be an individual. He's trying to fight the collective. As the two of you have just wonderfully illustrated, the Borg strike a nerve with fans, and I think that's why it was so smart that they brought back the Borg for the season finale. The season finale is one of those episodes that, just by the nature of television, more people tune in to the season opener and the season finale than other episodes throughout the season. So it was very savvy on their part to return the Borg on for the end of the season, when you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to have one of the biggest audiences for that show. So I thought, kudos to the producers for doing that. Oh, I'm glad you're showing that. That reminds me, I think one of the things I like to talk about in these season wrap-ups is what regular cast members get their best showcases in the season. I make the argument that essentially certain characters always seem to fall on the bottom, and certain characters always seem to get the majority of the season about them. And it's almost always, I think it is always Picard and Data. Those are always the two characters that hog most of the storylines.
Which is not really surprising. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's not really surprising because they basically represent the Kirk and Spock sort of bromance from the original series.
Correct. Well, see, that's the thing. I think the dynamic in season 1, you could almost imagine a different dynamic. You can almost see it as it being perhaps Riker
as Captain Kirk.
Right, and Picard is sort. It's. I mean, to compare it to another show, on Doctor Who, the first Doctor, he was very much, in the back, and then Ian was sort of the action hero, and he sort of took lead in a lot of things, because Hartnell was just sort of, he was sort of the intellectual, but the action was handled by the companion. And you almost saw that dynamic in the first season playing out, where Riker was almost always in the forefront of a lot of the episodes, because he's obviously the one going down on the planet, and there's a lot of going down on the planet in the first couple of seasons. But in this season, I think we see a lot of threats hit the ship, and we see Picard involved in a lot of stuff. I think Picard really takes center stage in a lot of episodes. Certainly. I
think that after now seeing the whole season, to me, I feel like there's always going to be, yes, you're right, the characters that seem to have more story time devoted to them are Picard and Data and Worf this season.
Worf enters, yes.
Worf, and I think Worf
enters the upper echelon. Yeah.
Worf comes into that, and then, but I also do feel that there's a fair representation of all the team, if you will, and everyone kind of gets some. I don't know. Let's go on through our list here. Mm-hmm. That was Ensigns of Command,
which is a Data episode.
And a rather good one as well, where we see Data come up against some interesting challenges of diplomacy, while Picard and the crew work with the Shellyak and find a legal loophole to the dilemma of the Shellyak wanting to completely eradicate the life on this colony. The colony on this planet. And then after that, we get The Survivors, and that is the episode.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's the episode with what's his face?
I killed all of them.
Yeah, the Hushnak episode. I forget the name of the characters. Rochelle and Uxbridge. Kevin and Rashawn Uxbridge. That's what it was. The Uxbridges, and again,
it's so strange to hear this name, because in London there's a part that's called Uxbridge.
Oh,
the tube goes there. That's the final destination of the Piccadilly line, Uxbridge.
Really interesting. Oh, wow.
But it's interesting that this episode again was another, episode that's very science fiction-y in my opinion. With the character Kevin Uxbridge being like some kind of new kind of alien that we had not encountered before, and capable of wielding extreme power, like Q-like powers, but different.
That reminds me, I got to read from that zine.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go ahead, continue. Yeah, there's one I got to read you, but when you get to the episode, I'll go ahead. Next episode.
There's no commentary on this episode, though.
There's one. I just want to point out. In this the end of this episode, I wasn't in the discussion, but in the end of the episode, when he transfers, he mutate or transform himself to his real self, the special effect on that one, that transformation is way much better than we saw in the which was the name of this episode, the last one, Transfigurations, when he turned into a orangey, just you can kind of see it's a morphosuit sort of thing. And in this episode, the main character turns into a glowing energy particle mass that still has a human form. So it's a much, in terms of special effect, I think it's much more engaging than the last one was. The last episode, in terms of the best of both worlds.
It is really weird that the transfigurations. I do understand that when you're remastering, and we talked about this, or redoing the effects, you want to be as true to the original artist as possible. But that was one case where I think the artist would have been like, "Can you
be more imaginative?" Yes.
Yeah, make it better.
That's funny because I was checking the SD version, so I'm gonna jump into. Oh no, but still in the HD version, they still have this.
No, yeah, it
fading, glowing thingy. So it's really cool how they did it in the beginning of the season, and the end of the season they just got. I mean, maybe they run out of budget. I don't know.
That's a very realistic possibility that does actually happen a lot. But yeah, I really liked. I really liked the Survivors. I thought it was one of the most original kind of episodes. Then we get the Mintakans.
That was a great graphic, by the way. I love the graphic for that.
By the way, I'm just doing searches for I'm just typing like TNG in the name of the episode, and Gary, your artwork comes up pretty prominently. It's like a few rows down, but that's awesome. So again, good. Let's give a little moment of credit to Gary. Who,
I think we should show all the graphics.
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah, this is great. I like this.
After a year, when I Google Tracker Prize, my website, and even my face comes up the first time. It's very shocking.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Starfleet Boy doing really well with those graphics.
No, I love that graphic. That's a great shot. The one where with Riker and Worf and Crusher, and that's really cool. What's next?
It's Who Watches the Watchers, the Mintakan episode. Another great episode in the season.
One of my favorite.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool about this episode is that it really deals with the philosophy behind the Prime Directive. It's a very deep episode in that regard. There's a real cool parallel to human evolution in terms of our own evolution of thought and philosophy, because these are Bronze Age type civilizations. So, one can imagine that, humans of the Bronze Age would have had a very similar way of expressing themselves. And I just enjoyed I enjoyed all that, of course. And then you get like this wonderful artifact, the Mintakan tapestry that's given to Picard, which he keeps, and it becomes a part of now Next Generation lore. So there's a lot in this episode to enjoy. I think we also get that moment that I recall of flirty dialogue between Riker and Troy, and you just it's just kind of a delightful little moment that I still remember after these many weeks of our discussions.
But overall, I would probably call it a Picard.
Again, yeah, a Picard.
Because of that ending,
a Picard episode. Yep.
Yeah.
It was really strong and diplomatic, and covering all the religious issues at one point as well. It was a really good episode. One of my favorites from season 3. If I think about season 3, that's definitely one of the best. Sorry, do continue.
No, it's fine. Then we go from there to the bonding, which is now a Worf-centric episode. So
I have to get something. Go ahead. Continue talking.
Okay. It's a Worf-centric episode, and I think we really like this episode. Gary, you were on this discussion, and
I think I was. Yes.
Yeah, you were, and I remember you had the the alien seemed so alien to you, or something. There's something about the way that the aliens didn't understand the human aspect of it, where they just wanted to take care. I forget exactly, but I remember you were very engaged in the discussion. I had fun talking to you about it, but
Ooh, yeah. Something is
triggering in your mind there.
Quite a while ago.
But
All right.
Listen to that conversation again.
But this was another episode that kind of like reminded you that the Enterprise D is a ship with families on board. And the more and more I think about it, you know, at the time, I think I remember being really annoyed often, just as Captain Picard was, probably because Captain Picard was, that there were even families or children on board the Enterprise, right? But the Enterprise's mission was to go out into the, you know, unexplored, basically the further territories or the further parts of space where a lot of new things were going to be encountered. So potentially at these great distances, you could be gone for like years at a time, or even months and even years at a time before you saw a starbase or another human colony or whatnot. And so it kind of made sense then, because if you think about it, the Enterprise is an exploration and science and research vessel first. And I kind of love that, now that I think about it as an adult, that there are families aboard the ship. It kind of gives you the idea of a generational ship. Like, I imagine if we don't have warp drive, but when we start to get faster propulsion in our own, when humans start traversing greater distances in space, at some point you're going to have a generational ship. You're going to have a ship in which your family will go with you, and you may not be the person that makes it to the destination. It may be your children or the younger of your crew that make it to that destination. So you could live out, if it takes 200 years to get to Alpha Centauri, let's say, then you're not going to make it.
And this actually quite interesting, because that happened, and it's touched down in many episodes in Star Trek Enterprise. But basically, the golden age of space exploration before Kirk and Spock, 100 years before Kirk and Spock, not like 10 like Discovery does. Although we don't know how well it will do, but they touched on this thing, and even Mayweather, who actually born in a in a starship. So it's quite interesting when
What's the term they use for him?
Hmm?
What's the term they use for him? He's something.
Space boomer.
There we go. Right.
A space what?
A space boomer.
Oh, nice, like a baby
Space boomer.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting how this topic actually comes back to, the whole the topic of space, having your kids in a ship in later incarnation of Star Trek. It's cool, and even in Voyager it comes back at once with Naomi Wildman.
That's cool. To me, the standout line in this episode was this one by Riker, and I found a little thing on the internet here. Maybe if we felt any loss as keenly as we felt the death of one close to us, human history would be a lot less bloody. Very kind of true words there.
Before we move on from this episode, I got to read to you this passage. Again, this is from the Field Guide to the Aliens of Star Trek Next Generation. Season 3, a zine from 1992 or whatever this was. And this kid, he writes, these aliens, he's talking about
the Mintakans?
The ones who were...
Oh, wait. Sorry.
No, the ones from the Bonding.
Sorry. Right.
These aliens are blobs of blue energy that fly around, and they have the ability to basically turn anything into a holodeck. There was a kid on the Enterprise whose mom died in an away mission, and these aliens found out about it. So they appeared to him as his dead mom and offered to let him live with them on the planet in a replica of his house from Earth. The crew of the Enterprise stops this from happening, but I think this is some BS. That kid had both his parents die. He had a sucky life, and if some alien wanted him to live in paradise with him, and he should have gotten to make that choice. There is another episode from this season with a guy named Barkley, and it was great. He is really nervous and anxious, and everyone makes fun of him and then tells him he has nothing to be afraid of. But they don't know that what they're talking about. They all have friends, and they're popular and have no problems. They don't know what it's like to be scared or to have a shitty life and dead parents.
Oh my God.
People on the Enterprise need to mind their own business sometimes and stop acting like they have any idea how hard things are for other people.
Wow.
Wow.
There we go, Joshua.
I really agree with the last statement, but the previous to it was a bit. I think it was a bit off topic, off on the scale. But yeah, it's funny to listen to it. But
it is. I
think in the case of Jeremy, Esther, and Barkley, it was a necessary. It was for their own good. I think. To change.
Joshua disagrees.
Well, yeah.
The kid had a sucky life. They just wanted to give him his paradise, hanging out with his mom and his puppy dog. So next episode
is the booby trap.
Oh, what a booby trap it is!
Yes.
Wow.
Well,
that was something.
we had some qualms about this episode. Part of it had to do with Geordi's off-duty clothing, and his choice of his fashion, off-duty fashion. But I guess this is an episode where we kind of see that like the holodeck is like a dangerous place in some ways, because it can be an addictive experience. And again, Barkley takes it further, but we really see that here in this episode, I think.
Yeah, well said. No, it's true, and but obviously, it's I think the good aspect of this episode is what I found interesting and fascinating is the engineering, the Enterprise itself. Part when they go into how the Enterprise was engineered and how you can fix and mix up with the systems that actually already in the ship. So it was the Starship guy talks from me at the moment, but yeah, that was an interesting fact. And even in the end, when Picard takes over command and he just like drives the Enterprise out from this field and this booby trap, I don't know. I remember the scene. I was rewatching just that scene when Picard takes command and flies out from the mine from the field with the Enterprise. It's just it's a brilliant.
That's a beautiful scene, and it is really cool to see that. Again, it has a lot of great moments in it, especially that asteroid maneuver and stuff like that. Here's a gorgeous picture from the episode.
Beautiful.
Still, Doctor.
I still maintain that the true booby trap is that the episode starts off and you think it's going to be this great Picard episode.
Oh, that's right.
It's about Picard and his love of his archaeological love of this race and all this, and all of a sudden, the episode starts off fine, and then you realize, oh shit, it's the one where Geordi falls in love with that hologram, and you're like, oh. And
his musical taste as well. Having a gypsy violin.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The beginning of them, it's like, what?
On the beach, right? Yeah. What the hell is he wearing? Oh my God. Yeah. This episode's a booby trap, all right. And then in terms of ongoing arcs, obviously, Picard and Data get a lot of character development in this season. Geordi, whom last season became chief engineer, which was a great step up for him as a character. He had a. Well, I don't think we've gotten to that episode yet, but he had some good episodes in this season. But this whole thing of that he's looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work, man. It just
I
seems
think
like
they wanted to show us his other side, his personality, as we got to see all the characters in the course of 7 years in different aspects of their lives, and maybe that was Geordie's shining moment from his personality.
But I don't. It's just weird because I think Geordie as a character seems like he's like that guy that everybody likes. He's, I mean, you know, he had great rapport with who was that? The Ensign Gomez, the
Right,
cute
last
little
season.
one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he doesn't seem like the guy who would suddenly clam up and can't talk to a girl. I don't know. I just don't buy it. I never bought it. And I think there's several other episodes where he's just kind of like, you know, looking for romance here and there. And you know, he just seems like
He's a hopeless romantic, basically.
he's a hopeless romantic, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this episode.
Geordie's love interest.
No, I'm not a fan of Geordie's love life at all.
Although we see Deanna Troi and Riker ongoing, you know, I love you, I don't, I want to be with you, but now I'm not ready yet. This sort of
no.
the whole
Riker from the beginning, he's like, look, I'm gonna fuck around.
Every second space alien, no matter what it is.
Yeah, he's gonna.
No,
I believe
they have this really big bonding through the whole series, not the season, the series. So we kind of get their intimacy, an intimate life, let's say, in the 15 years of Next Generation, movies included.
Right. Well, the movies improved on it. They finally, you know, got them where they're supposed to be.
But yeah, I don't recall Geordie will have any love interest in the, in the following seasons.
No, he does, doesn't he? I think he does.
Aquiel, I think that was an episode.
I don't know.
Aquiel.
Anyways,
yeah,
next.
No, that's season 6. We are not there yet.
Next.
So next we go to another Geordie-centric episode, which is The Enemy.
Oh, that's a great one.
That was a good one.
And there's a beautiful graphic that Gary created. This one did not show up on the Google search.
That's another great graphic, by the way.
Yeah, totally. So I think it's interesting that we had back-to-back Geordie episodes too.
Yeah, which is great. I think that episode really showed the, you know, just what
the Geordie we like.
The Geordie we like. There we go. Exactly. The Geordie we like. You know, he's. You know what? I'm looking forward to your Geordie profile.
Well, I'm looking forward. Believe me.
Because I think, you know, he's kind of like the he's like the door greeter of the Enterprise D. Like, he's the guy that's going to welcome you in. You know, that's why in the Barclay episode it's so well done that he's the one. He can't stand Barclay, and you're like, wait a minute, if Geordie is having a problem with Barclay, that's a problem. You know.
But no, this was a really great episode, honestly, and it's not just because of Geordie, but you know, being led a first sign of, you know, there can be peace between the humans and the Romulans. It's just something that happened between the two officers on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next page.
Next.
Finished.
Moving along.
So the next episode after this is The Price, which is a Troy-centric episode, and we get Devanani Rawl, who is a scoundrel. We all decided.
Okay. You know what? I have to go for a minute. Can go ahead and continue talking. I'll be back. I'm just going to turn my camera off.
Oh,
Hold
okay.
on. Okay.
Whoa,
I'll be back.
All right. So either something happened with The Price. No, anyways, the Price, and here's your graphic that you did. Oh, my screen thing is not working here.
I don't think I can go into. Well, hang on. I should have all of the graphics that I actually did for you. I probably have so.
Hold on a second. Here we go. All right, presenting.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. So it is a Troy-centric episode, and I really liked. I don't remember if I liked it a lot, but I do remember I liked some of the kind of moral dilemma where Devanani Rall challenged Counselor Troy by saying that they are the same and that she uses her abilities for tactical advantage and to help the crew of the Enterprise at the price of someone else's liberty. And we actually talked about this later on, where in Tin Man you see that Tam Elbrun, who's a very gifted telepath, is able to even tell you by reading the minds of the Romulan crew what they're up to. And like, you can imagine if you had a Betazoid officer of that kind of ability on your ship, they might be like insanely great in a tactical situation. But then again, you can't read everyone's mind. So a ship full of data.
Thank God for that.
It's true.
From my perspective, I really like the scientific part of the whole episode, and it connects with Voyager as well at one point because of the two Ferengi. For me, that was more interesting actually than it was. It was good as a character development and a character, let's say, profile for Deanna Troi. But I do enjoy the technical bits from this episode.
Yeah, and there was the nice. Yeah, you're right. The wormhole concept was even
the Barzai wormhole.
Yeah, exactly. Very good memory there.
Yeah.
the Barzai. Are you back?
Yeah. I just needed a little break.
That was great. You went off into subspace. So going back to our next episode after the price is the Vengeance Factor, which Gary had a lot of passion for when we did on this one. It's a interesting episode where
see the graphic for this.
Oh yeah, hold on, let me
the graphics are a good way of reminding me what the episode's about. I have to admit, it's a good primer for.
Well, this is the one where we have the super killer. Hold on, darn it, technical malfunction. Hold on. All right. The Vengeance Factor. Here it comes, the graphic, guys. But anyways, this is where we had the super assassin killer.
Oh, the Winter Soldier. Okay, yeah.
The Winter Soldier, yeah, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Right. She's the Winter Soldier. And this is a Riker-centric episode, since we're talking about whether or not the episodes are centric to a character or not. And we get a little bit of tragedy in this episode because he is, of course, devastated when he has to kill this character. And
I didn't see that one.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
You were on the discussion, if I recall correctly. You do remember, because Gary was really upset that Riker killed the assassin, and then you and I convinced him that it was the only option available to him.
God, I have no memory of this episode.
I know, it's hard. It's hard. We're mid-career, Doctor.
We're seasoned.
We're seasoned. There's not a lot of space in our heads left, and so.
But don't go there just now. It's so cool.
This is not the one where. Is this the one where they're on the planet and they have terrorists and? No,
that's the Dr. Crusher.
That's the Dr. Crusher.
You were definitely not there for that one.
No memory of this episode at all. That's
yeah. I'm just actually checking the which one are we talking about? Vengeance Factor.
Vengeance Factor, and then the next episode after that is, of course. Do we have anything else to say about the Vengeance Factor?
Well,
guys?
No.
It's funny, Gary. You didn't agree with Riker shooting the girl.
I didn't. Yeah, I remember that.
It's interesting. Joshua Chapman agrees with you.
Oh, let's hear Josh.
Oh, okay.
He says half of these aliens, because remember he goes by aliens. So half of these aliens dress like normal Star Trek aliens, and the other half dress like people from Mad Max. Most of these aliens have face tattoos. Sometimes they look okay, but with the Mad Max ones, a lot of the time, it looks like they have moldy cottage cheese on their face.
So accurate.
A century ago, these aliens had really violent feuds between different clans. They were so bad that they threatened to destroy their civilization, so they stopped doing them. We find out that one of the clans made a woman who would never age and always stay beautiful, and was also poisonous to people in a different clan. It's weird how no one seems that surprised that this civilization has the ability to make it so that people don't age. Later on, this woman is about to kill a guy, and Riker tells I never thought, I guess.
No, it's so true.
Kind of it's like, yeah, wow.
We never
Later on, the woman is about to kill a guy, and Riker tells the guy to sit still while he repeatedly shoots the woman.
This is the part that Gary couldn't handle.
Even though the guy who was about to be killed had plenty of time to just walk away. They could have easily just arrested her. It's weird that Riker feels the need to phaser her to death instead.
He agrees with you, Gary. That's funny.
Let's make the two of us then. Yay! Thank you, Joshua Chapman. Wherever you are.
We need to find Joshua Chapman. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, he is.
The Defector.
It's a 10.
Admiral Jarok. Really good. I really loved our discussion of that episode. But I guess that's one of those episodes where the whole crew is working toward the problem, right? Like there was
the whole crew, yeah.
Yeah, it was like not really a centric. There was not really a centric thing.
Everybody has their moment. Crusher, Data, Picard, everyone.
Why is this episode a 10? And I don't know, Gary, were you on the Vengeance Factor discussion?
No, I wasn't.
So what do you think of the episode?
Oh, I don't remember that much, to be honest. I don't know. I have to just look it up quickly. But
it's basically
if I just
you should rewatch it for sure, because it's I think the Doctor and I think it's like one of those timeless, like those very classic sort of Star Trek episode moments. But basically, Romulan admiral defects from the Romulan Empire to warn Starfleet of an impending offensive against the Federation. And it turns out that the whole time the admiral was being tested, very typical Romulan type of situation, but he was being tested for his loyalty by the Romulans, and he actually didn't have any accurate data at all. And now he was estranged from his family. And at the end of the episode, he decides, well, there's nothing else for me to live for now that I can never go home. And so he commits suicide. And it's just like a very sad, somber episode, very powerful performances, especially by, the actor's name.
He's a great actor, yeah. Great character actor.
James Sloyan plays Jarok. Anyways, really great performances and a lot of philosophy and a lot of Star Trek at its best type stuff.
Good
episode to watch. But yeah, I'm sure you're gonna give it a 10. I can already predict because I think we both gave this episode.
I'm so predictable.
What's that?
I'm so predictable.
No, not really. But
I don't even remember if I ever gave anything like less than 5.
I don't think you have.
I don't think you have. No.
Yeah.
No, I always over rank everything. Overrate.
The evening is young.
And rank.
Oh
and
yeah,
rank,
well,
rank would be
especially for you, it's almost 12:30 in the morning for me.
So, moving right along, we get to the Hunted, and I love your graphic because you put the actor James Cromwell.
That's cool.
In it, and also this, the actor who plays the lead character, Roga Danar.
And they're both opposed to each other. So yeah, that's a really good graphic. That's excellent.
Thank you.
So this episode is, I guess you could call it a Troy Data episode.
Huh.
Probably yes. Yeah.
Huh, yeah. I mean, I'd give the edge to Troy, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I mean that's what stood out to me about it was there was the Troy. Well, you know what was interesting about it, and maybe we didn't talk about it during our discussion, or maybe we did, but Troy had one perspective on Roga Danar, and then Data had a different perspective on Roga Danar, but they both lobbied for his freedom, basically, which was pretty cool, and it convinced Captain Picard to change his mind and do a little bit more investigation, because he was convinced that as his people kind of exiled him and other soldiers. This is another Winter Soldier episode, by the way. To a colony on a moon because they felt they were dangerous to society, and so Picard at first is on board with that, and then he jumps on board and starts to question things, and then you realize, oh yeah, this society is pretty flawed. It also had a great moment with Data captaining the ship, and I think it was maybe the first time that we see Data in command of the ship as they're pursuing Roga Danar when he escapes from the colony.
Yeah.
If I may, from Joshua Chapman. I'm not going to read everything, but he basically describes the super soldier as the Aragon of the Star Trek version of Aragon. And he goes off to say, pretty much the only person on the Enterprise who's a match for one of these guys is Data. Everyone on the Enterprise keeps falling for this guy's tricks over and over, except for Data. Sometimes I think if he wasn't on the ship, they would fly into an asteroid in like 5 minutes. It is crazy that Riker outranks Data. Data is better than Riker in pretty much every way possible. I bet Data could even grow a better beard than Riker.
Remember the episode where Data has a beard? Was that last season or this season? Was it
season 2?
Season 2.
The Shizoid Man.
That's right.
I remember so well because I know it's not the place for the commercial, but I just did an episode of beards in Star Trek, and actually Data's beard made it to the episode, so it's there.
I didn't know that was the thing.
It wasn't. I just thought that's a different sort of aspect of Star Trek. Why not?
Oh, you did a thing on beards in Star Trek.
I did. Yeah, I did a beards in Star Trek.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen that one yet. I gotta check it out.
I started as like, what would you say if I told you Riker beards saved the next generation?
That is
awesome. Hilarious.
Well, it's out there.
Can you give us a preview? What are the top 5 beards on Star Trek?
Well, Riker, obviously.
And then
we have memorable Data. We have Spock. We have Benjamin. Yeah.
Cisco gets the goatee.
The Mirror Spock.
Right.
Cisco gets the goatee. That's right.
Cisco get one, and I think that's it. And the
Picard never gets a beard, right?
He got it in All Good Things, the alternative Picard.
That's
but
right.
I didn't go for alternative universe because that's just too much to cover. But yeah,
you went for Spock.
I went for Spock, and I even went for Geordi. Oh yeah, he's the 5th one, Geordi.
Spock isn't Spock an alternate universe?
Well, mirror universe. That's kind of. I know that's kind of it's an exceptional, but it's an iconic one. So.
It is. You're right.
Sorry, that was my beard.
Okay, now I'm happy. Okay, next episode. Sorry, so.
No, you're good. I like all this. I like it. So we just did. We just did the Hunted. Then we get the High Ground, which is a Dr. Crusher centric. Right? We just talked about the Hunted.
No, I'm sorry. When you said the Higher Ground, I have to think of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin.
Oh man, that's such a.
Sorry.
Anakin did not learn. Anakin did
No,
not learn.
he did not. He did not. Poor Annie.
Poor Annie, it's true. But anyways, the High Ground is a Dr. Crusher centric episode, and it's a very good episode. Actually, Gary and I talked about the Hunted and the Higher Ground back to back. And I remember that was a good discussion too. And I actually liked the High Ground. It's not the Higher Ground. The High Ground more than the Hunted, because they're both very similar in their themes. But I think one of the problems I had with the Hunted was how Roga Danar, as you said, is the Aragon, but like he kind of just figures out everything on the ship, and like, you know, I don't know, it was a little too unbelievable for me. But in the High Ground, I really love the character of Finn. I like that there was an underlying romantic theme going on between Crusher and Finn, and then even still, they also brought, interestingly enough and very cleverly, Picard into the mix as well. Yeah. And so there's a lot of good stuff about this episode. I just really liked it a lot.
Yeah, you guys had a really good discussion. I was jealous. I missed out on that one, and you guys had a very, very good discussion. I wish I'd managed to make it to that one, because that's one of my. I mean, I'm always a fan of the Crusher episodes, the Beverly Crusher episodes, I should say, and I think that one is a standout of the season. And
I know you wished you had been on that discussion, if I recall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was one that I'm sorry I missed.
Well, we missed you. We missed you from that one.
Well, I enjoyed listening to your discussion on that one, and it's, again, you know, we've been pointing out which are episodes that, you know, who is focused on in these episodes, and I think, you know, it's definitely nice to see a Crusher episode. Of course, you know, I'll point out it's later on in the season. You know, Data and Picard get a whole big chunk, you know, early on. It takes a while for the rest of the cast to get one, but it's nice that Crusher got one.
Yeah, and so far I'm kind of doing a casual and informal tally here. And so far I see I might have a case towards my even distribution of storylines here. We'll recap it when we finish the recap. We'll recap the recap.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, me too. I'm intrigued to find out what we discover. Here's Deja Q, which is the whole crew, but
I'm just realizing those faces on Picard, Worf, and Riker. It's just incredible, and John Delancey is beautiful. That tells about everything about the episode.
The expressions are priceless.
Cool. One of the most hilarious episode in season 3.
And again, another episode where you get the whole crew participating, even though Data really gets the standout moment at the end of this episode, and really a lot of moments because of the interaction between he and Q. But
what's happening with the Borg cube? Borg.
That?
Oh, Q.
Happening with that Q.
Yeah, Q did that to the Borg. Sorry. Yeah, everybody has a little moment to shine. Everybody, pretty much. Everybody's equally insulted,
especially the mariachi band.
Hold on one second. We're gonna So we don't have anything to say about the Q episode. I guess we did talk about it during the.
Well,
it was a good episode because Q changes, is what we remarked. I think.
Exactly. He gets hungry and then returning Gaiden and oh, I lost my appetite actually, so I don't need that 12 chocolate pudding or ice cream or something.
Yeah, I think what I'd said is it's really the last time that Q had some major character development. But
yeah, it was different to see him in a human form. Let's say he was still like a big
this kid,
but
the kid writes about the Kala. I know in this guy we kept calling him the calamari.
Call them the calamari, but they're the calamarain.
Okay, the calamarains. These aliens are giant balls of gas, which is lame. I am okay with their being called all sorts of weird looking. Okay, I'm sorry. I am okay with there being all sorts of weird looking organic aliens, and energy aliens seem fine, but gas aliens is a little bit dumb. In the episode, they are able to attack the Enterprise somehow, but this seems like cheating on the part of the writers. There is nothing scary about an alien made out of gas.
There is. It's gas and energy. Come on.
I disagree.
But he's right in the sense that, like, you just have a blob attacking you. The danger's not really as exciting as it might be if you had like an armada of starships attacking you. Well, then we go to a matter of perspective, which is another Riker episode. So we get another Riker episode this season. That's like the second one or the third one, I think. And Gary, here's your beautiful graphic for that. Let's see here. Presenting to everyone.
With Regular One very nicely spotlighted. And
it is Regular One.
Oh, yeah.
This episode was great. I love the whole. What was it? What was the famous thing it's referencing?
Rashomon.
Thank you, Rashomon. That whole style of the three different perspectives and talking and it caused us to kind of have a nice little debate about Riker's intentions. I remember, which was fun. I said that his intentions were less nefarious than perhaps the Doctor thought, and then we found out that actually, that's a shared sentiment from many who saw the episode at the time.
Go ahead.
No, you're gonna say.
No, this kid writes a funny thing. He says, "There is nothing about these aliens that doesn't make them assholes. They rip off the Federation so they can make weapons for other aliens. They try to murder Riker. They cheat on their husbands, and they give inaccurate testimony during deposition."
I love. What's his full name?
Joshua Chapman. You've looked him up before. You can buy them.
You can buy them. We got it. I forgot. I'm gonna have to buy them this week because we have to get the whole set. It's like definitely a funny perspective on a humorous and
seriously considering buying the Bible that you have, Doctor. Honestly,
Larry Nemesic, the companion. I highly recommend.
Oh, really? The Larry Nemesic. Oh, well, yeah. You'd be getting an updated one, so you would have to read from the book.
Oh, all right. Make it so.
Make it so. Now you said it was a Riker-centric episode, which is correct. However, I just want to point out, although it is a Riker-centric episode, the nature of the episode means that we don't get a lot of insight into. Half the time, we're like, is it Riker or is it really not Riker? So it's kind of a
theorizing Riker.
Yeah.
Well, Riker's definitely at the heart of the episode, but
he is at the heart.
But I do recall now that I think about the episode that Troy stands out.
She does
in this episode. So maybe it was a Riker, Troy, Picard, episode, if you will.
The best memorable moment that I recall from this episode is the beginning when Picard and everyone is just painting in the observation lounge. And Data comes in and he just kind of scores down Picard.
That's
Picard's
the
painting, like-
episode.
Wait, what is it
That's
that
a good one.
happened?
So basically, he scores down Picard's painting because it's like it's not really that it's quite childish or something like
Right.
that.
I
It's
forgot
Will
cool.
we
about
ever
And-
see Picard paint ever again in Star Trek?
No. Well, I think that's thanks for Data. But
Thanks, Data.
the music was amazing at the beginning. The opening scene with that painting session plus the music, I think it was just beautiful. I really that's one thing that I do remember from this episode, the music. I'm being a music geek now. Sorry.
No, I agree. The music is just standout the whole season, and it's a couple of composers this season who I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe one of you guys wouldn't mind.
Dennis McCarthy, definitely one of them.
Yeah, Dennis McCarthy. What's his name?
Ron Jones.
Ron Jones.
Yeah.
Who else? That's it. Maybe.
I think the major, yeah, two of them. I think they were the credits. Let's see the credits for this one.
What is the
No.
reason for there being multiple composers?
Maybe
You know, I
some of them
think-
weren't available at some point.
I
Or-
think that it could have been that, or I mean, like, it's certainly interesting because you go to Battlestar Galactica and it's all Bear McCreary, and then you go to Doctor Who and it's all Marie
David
Gold.
Arnold.
And I kind of love that because there's a consistency throughout the show of a singular voice. But at the same time, I will say that that's definitely a difference because having multiple composers, the music doesn't always stand out in Star Trek: The Next Generation. But when it does, it is certain composers that do stand out. Or
But I think that's really true for the movies as well, because in all the 10 original movie, let's say, you don't have the same composers.
that's true. We have Jerry Goldsmith a couple times. You have him in Star Trek, the motion picture.
And the
You
second
have him
one
in
is
Star Trek 5. Jerry
Star Trek
Goldsmith
5,
did
Star Trek
5. And that's it for the original series. But he comes back to do
Next Generation movies.
First Contact and Insurrection
And Nemesis.
and Nemesis. So he does all three of the Next Generation films except for Generations, which is Dennis McCarthy.
Yeah. Big screen
But
debut for him.
But in the case of movies, of course, it's because of the availability of the composer, and it's a long project and all this. But why is it that on why would it be that on a television show? And I'm not assuming you know the answer, but I'm curious as to know. If somebody knows the answer, please comment below. But why is it that there is a need to have different composers on a television show? Why wouldn't they just hire one guy, let's say Ron Jones or McCarthy, and say, okay, you're the guy, and every week we're going to come to you? And I mean, was it because they're all freelance, or I mean, I don't know.
What I like about it is, and the same reason why there's different directors too, and different writers. I think TV is a great way to get your foot in the door, or like to advance, like as a writer or a composer or as a director. A lot of directors get their careers going in television, and I think it's also a good way to kind of like play. I think back then, especially with the longer seasons and stuff like that, I think it was a good way to like play around and explore and see what worked better in a sense. So I would imagine they were like, yeah, we like, we love Dennis. We also want to hear what, Jones does, and so I don't know, it could have been just as simple as like also giving one composing music, I think is one of those things that takes a long time to do. Like it's not an easy task. So by having a group of composers, while one composer is working on a group of episodes, the other composer is working on the other group of episodes. So those are my theories. I don't really know what it is.
I think I have to agree with you, because it's more. I mean, I know when I was actually I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I used to play in a marching band, and I used to
No.
no, I haven't. I was a tuba player back then, like
That's so
5 or
cool.
6 years ago,
Wow.
and I even tried it out in here as well, but it didn't really work. Well, anyhow, so my teacher was a composer, and he's still composing music quite a lot. And I actually, for one of my school projects, I did an interview with him, and that was like 15 years ago. God. And he mentioned being a composer is being like it's basically being like a truck driver or a doctor or whatever. So you just do your job. It's nothing fancy. Obviously, you can hear it or so, but it's kind of creative process. And sometimes he really spend hours and hours just figuring out one line on one particular score. And he had to think about multiple instruments and all how they will get into harmony and what's the whole message of the music piece. So it's quite an interesting and long process, even just for one. And some of these episodes had like 3 or 4 different segments of type of music. So I'm pretty sure they just needed more time and they got more involved. I mean, Jay Chataway was the one, Ron Jones obviously,
right.
and Dennis McCarthy.
Thanks for looking that up.
Dennis McCarthy is the most famous one actually in The Next Generation, I think.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
I think, but that's just my theory. That's not official.
No, I think that absolutely makes sense. Yeah, that's a well reasoned out theory. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I can see it.
Yeah, well, doctor.
Great question. Great, hopefully interesting answers. So then we go on to an epic episode of huge favorite of fans, and also just a really interesting and excellent story. And it's yesterday's Enterprise.
And I listened to the episode. I left a beautiful comment, as I recall.
Yes, you liked our discussion. That's right.
Did. And you know what? I wish I was there, because I have someone here.
Hold on.
I have someone here. The Enterprise C.
Oh my gosh, it's the C.
There we go. And so basically, I can just replay the whole sequence. Then the Enterprise D comes, defends the Enterprise C. But they go back.
That's so cool. And so these are the Eagle Moss.
These are the Eagle Moss ones, yes. And the Enterprise C is one of the ships that I wanted to have because that's.
Look at that.
She's beautiful, isn't she?
She is a beautiful ship. Gary, are they to scale?
No, unfortunately not. Okay. They're all the same size.
Because the C and the D should be somewhat.
Well, I think it's somewhat similar. It's not exactly accurate.
Right.
It would actually
terms of the scale,
move the C toward your face and move the D toward the camera, and say something. That's more. I think.
There we go. This is sort of the dimension for the Enterprise C and D.
Yeah, I think so. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think I would go for something like this instead. Although I don't know, because it's half Excelsior, half Constitution, half Galaxy. It's like everything else together in it. It's a nice ship, though.
Does the saucer on the D separate? On the model?
On the C. Oh,
no, on the C, on the D, on the model.
No. In this one, it doesn't. Unfortunately, that's not a feature. I think they should do actually one. But if Eagle Moss listens to everyone from Eagle Moss, anyone, just do a separated D. But they did with the Art Asylum ones, but those are obviously huge. So it's like a different dimensions. But sorry, yes to the Enterprise. Today's Enterprise.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow.
This episode, would you agree? It's a Guinan episode.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's actually awesome because we get a Barclay episode, we get a Guinan episode, and even episode 1, even though it's Wesley centric
episode,
even though episode 1's it's Wesley centric if you just take the crew, but it's also very much about Stubbs, the actor, the character Stubbs. So, which I don't think we can talk much more about this episode than we already did. So I'm just going to recommend that everyone go and watch the yesterday's Enterprise discussion on Starfleet Boy if you're curious to know our deep thoughts about that. But Gary, since you weren't there, is there anything you'd like to add on about the episode?
I did it in the comment section.
I know you did. It's true.
I think with every episode, if I watch them again, I can just go on and on a long time. But obviously, we have like another 10, 15 episodes to talk about. So no, it's fine. It's fine. I don't think I could add anything else to it. It was just a beautifully discussed episode from both of you.
Well, it's a wonderful
Thank
episode.
you.
All right, so next we go to one of my personal favorites, which is The Offspring. It's the episode where Data creates a child, basically, and he names her Lal, and she chooses her own gender, and it's a very ahead of its time for the time episode, and even today it's very relevant still when you watch it. There's a lot of themes that continue to echo into our current societal discussions about the nature of your gender, etc., and and very relevant for Doctor Who fans right now too. And so just in general, there's a lot of, it's interesting how things in my lifetime, I've seen things kind of come to the forefront that were like considered radical or taboo or undiscussed. And it's wonderful, because these are the things that as a young person I really desired, and that Star Trek espouses and represents. Like, don't be afraid to talk about these things. Our differences are what make us amazing. It's what's really cool about being a human, about being a person in general, is that as much as we look alike and act alike, we also are very different on many ways. And so I love episodes that challenge the ideas of the status quo, so to speak.
And the aspect of you can choose who you want to be as well, because she really chose her gender, her personality. She really becomes the person who she wants to be, and that's a total freedom of being a human. You can choose who you want to be.
That is true. That is absolutely true. Very good, Doctor.
And this is definitely a Data episode.
This is definitely a Data.
and Troy actually has
a strong part to play.
Has a strong part in it, and
really the whole crew, though, because there is interaction between just about everyone in this episode, because Lal kind of is introduced to all of Data's close friends. And then also just another thing of note is that this is Jonathan Frakes' directorial debut.
Right.
So this is his first episode. And in a very humorous scene, he's also in the episode, which is
just like Insurrection.
Just like Insurrection.
And
also interesting to note, since I don't think we've talked about this, but Jonathan Frakes has been announced as a director for Star Trek Discovery, which made me very excited. So I'll definitely be watching the show, as we know, but I'm now a little more excited about it because of Jonathan Frakes' name being attached. And as a matter of fact, I think it'd be fun. I don't know if I'm sure this will happen at some point, but if I'm not mistaken, the cast directors on The Next Generation were Patrick Stewart directed an episode, Jonathan Frakes directed an episode. Didn't LeVar Burton direct a few episodes, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he directed the one where there's two Rikers.
Right on.
Riker.
Oh, cool. And then, is there any other? Did Marina Sirtis or Gates McFadden or anyone else direct?
Gates McFadden directed one. She directed the one where everybody de-evolves.
Oh, right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she directed.
I didn't pay attention for that one. The Genesis.
Right. She worked with Jim Henson. She worked with Jim Henson.
Yeah, that's right.
Creature Shop. Now and on Voyager, Belana Torres has directed a number of episodes, and she went on to direct.
Yeah.
Yep. She's directed Enterprise episodes. She went on to direct episodes of Enterprise.
LeVar Burton also directed Enterprise. A few episodes.
Yeah, Doctor. Yeah. What about what's the
And even
actress?
Robert Duncan McNeil, Tom Paris, he directed a few episodes too in Enterprise.
Correct. That's right. Mm-hmm. So
What about
those
Michael
two,
Dorn? Did Michael Dorn ever take a shot at directing?
I don't
Wow.
believe so.
Oh.
Let me just
No.
have a quick look.
And I'm trying to think of anybody on Deep Space Nine tried to direct.
Well, I would imagine Avery Brooks would be.
Yeah, that was the first thing that comes to my mind as well. But I don't recall any episode, to be honest.
Fascinating.
I can't recall.
Well, I love it when actors direct, and I think that it would be wonderful to have all the directors.
Michael Dorn did 2 days and 2 nights in the Star Trek Enterprise first season.
Wow, great.
And in DS9, he did When It Rains, Inquisition, and In the Cards. 3 episodes.
Hey.
That's
Oh,
4
okay,
Star
there you
Trek
go.
episode.
Hey,
That's
Michael
interesting.
Dorn, that's so cool. I didn't remember or
That's
know that
cool.
actually. And what about did Brent Spiner direct?
Wow, okay, that's interesting.
I'm curious now to see who all
Brent
directed.
Spiner.
I wonder if Marina Sirtis took a hand at it too.
Let's check her as well then.
What does it say about Brent Spiner?
Brent Spiner. Well, he doesn't have any directorial credits here. He has soundtrack credits though. I don't know if any of you knew, but he has like the 1 or 2 music CD that actually he sings on.
Old Green
Yes,
Eyes
old,
Back
old
and,
Yellow Eyes. It's called
Yellow
actually.
Eyes,
Old
right.
Yellow
Yellow
Eyes.
Eyes.
Yeah.
Let's see Marina Sirtis as long as we hear. Marina Sirtis. Nope. Although she was producer for 2 recent movies from 2004 and 2007, Spectrus and Deep Below, but nothing mentionable, honorable. Yeah, no. So they didn't.
Fascinating. Well, that's about the most notable thing in my opinion. outside, it's also cool to have discovered how many people have directed. Then we go from The Offspring to, of course, Sins of the Father, which is definitely a Worf episode, but Picard has a huge supporting role in this, and he even threatens to steal the show, but of course Patrick Stewart's such a gifted actor that he doesn't steal the show. He actually graciously adds to the show. Oh, it's 80 degrees here today, which is unusual for Seattle. My cat's just like chilling in the shade. It's like very cute. Sorry. That's just a little Starfleet Boy personal moment. But this was a wonderful episode. I think we all ranked it a 10 because it's just really compelling. We really dive into the Klingon Empire, and in many ways, I had forgotten that Next Generation is where the Klingons are defined and become how we know the Klingons in a lot of ways. Even though the original series definitely up until even in Star Trek 3, there's a lot of Klingons, of course, but for some reason, Next Generation just took the Klingons to a whole new level. And I really like that. I really love that happened. That's it? No talk about.
Hey, we got like 20 episodes to go, man.
No,
Come
we're
on.
almost done.
No, I don't know anything about. I mean, it was a long time ago when I saw this episode, and I know just Worf being nicked out from the Empire. I think this is the episode, isn't it?
Yeah, he gets discommoded.
Okay, so it's like
discommodation.
That's the whole thing I remember about the episode, but saving the ass of Duras just to claim his great grandfather was
a traitor.
What was he? A traitor in Kithomer. It's like okay.
I mean,
This is a nicely explained thing about Worf history and Worf's background. And hang on, Worf talks about himself in this case when he talks about his grandfather. That's the same Worf that we saw in Star Trek 6.
Colonel Worf in Star Trek 6 is his great grandfather, so that's his father.
Okay.
His father's father.
Okay. Basically, the offspring of Colonel Worf gets in trouble in
Right.
Kithamar. Ah, okay, cool. Just to tie in, you know.
Right.
Cool.
Well, I mean, I'll say this is that this episode definitely elevates Michael Dorn to the top three. I mean, as the series goes on, one of the top three characters on Next Generation in terms of getting stories about him. And I mean, I think if you look at your informal statistics there, Worf hasn't had an episode all to himself yet this season. I mean, last season he had the Kalar episode. He had
No, he had the bonding.
oh well.
Yeah, that was kind of Worf.
It was kind of Worf, but this is Worf.
Yeah, this is well,
You know
but
what
this
I'm
is
saying?
like
This is his moment to shine.
this is
Right.
This is Worf's. This is the start of a huge Worf exploration
Storyline, an arc,
if you will.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody, you know, I mean, that's the thing is, you know, Picard has his arcs. I mean, you could almost say that him and Q meeting from time to time is an arc, and that runs throughout the whole show. Data, you know, Lore and Dr. Sung, and you know, he has multiple arcs, or he has one arc with multiple branches, whatever, which is basically the exploration of his, you know, his origins and whether or not he can be human or whatever. And Worf now has one, which runs even into Deep Space Nine. But I would argue that there is no other character really on Next Generation that gets an arc as long lasting as that. I mean, Troy, I mean, her mother shows up every once in a while, but that's not really an arc. You know,
Carries her character.
I mean, Troy gets worked into Worf's arc later on, but she doesn't have something like for herself, you know. And then certainly Geordi, as I mentioned before, doesn't really get an arc other than trying to look for love in all the wrong places. And well, who's left?
It is really great though, because Worf starts out as kind of much like Geordi, like his place isn't really like certain in the first couple of seasons. It's not until Tasha dies that we really see, you know, Worf is at the helm a couple of times, and you know, really he's just like, he was like
everywhere at the same time. Yeah, he's like a handyman with a multi-skill.
We didn't really know what his specialty was or anything like that, or what he wanted, you know, what he wants to do until, you know, I don't know. He was just like kind of like, I think Geordi and Worf were characters that were on the show but not really figured out as well. But here in season 3, both of these characters, I think, come into more of they're more solidified as characters, especially Worf, for sure, I think. And then yeah, you're absolutely right. Worf is like a top thought of character. He's very very well received, and a lot of people love the stories that Worf goes through. They're great stories though. I mean, like I'm not, you know, it's no surprise. It's a very, as with any Klingon story, there's a lot of melodrama. And so good.
And it's funny, I totally forgot about the most memorable Worf moment in season 3. His introduction to prune juice.
Yes, that's right.
I know that's right. Of the thing, but that when he said, it's like, oh, warriors drink. In yesterday's Enterprise, that's a memorable moment in front of the episode.
That's true.
That is so.
And
true.
the prune juice becomes his favorite drinks. Even in DS9, he always gets the prune juice.
That's
Apart
right.
from the Klingon blood wine. Cool.
Now we go to our the episode, which I don't think we really thought very highly of this, but it's it's Allegiance, which is an episode that takes place basically in a little room. Picard is abducted by aliens and put through a science experiment of sorts, and as he's working to you know, get out of that situation, we have the fake Picard on the Enterprise, and he's a substitute Picard who's acting a little erratic and weird. But we did like certain moments from this episode, as I recall, such as the Picard Crusher scene, which stood out, and of course we have the famous scene where he sings with the crew in 10 Forward, "Come cheer up, my lads." It's like,
and that was the episode when I actually used the Pogo song as well at the beginning, as I recall.
No, I think Pogo I did in another episode.
Really?
It's the one. Here's to the. Oh no, it is that episode, is it?
Is that episode? Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I had a Pogo moment, but I thought the Doctor.
Back when I is in the academy.
That's right, Doctor. Did you hop in like somewhere in the middle on that discussion? If I recall some correctly, but the Doctor's pops.
You can sing the entirety of that song, can't you?
No, I used to be able to when I was younger. But now I have to look it up. But it's basically a British Navy song. It's about the British Navy and how the ships are made of iron cores, ironwood. Then we go on from there to Captain's Holiday, which is an episode that we all really like because of one character, which is Vaj, and lovely introduction to a character. But then we were surprised to learn that Vaj only appears one more time on Star Trek The Next Generation and one time on Deep Space Nine. And so it is funny how a character can sometimes stick in your head and then you think that they're more a part of the mythos than you originally had thought. And then obviously this is a Picard centric episode, and it's lighthearted, and we compared it to Jewel of the Nile and Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's totally true.
Do we have any more from Joshua? Is that what I see? A smile on your face.
No, actually, this is one that we passed already.
Oh, okay.
But on Deja Q, on the discussion, I made this comment that they look like communist Chinese.
That's right.
And this kid, he says, I don't know why, but these aliens seem like Asian people to me. So he makes the same comment I do, and then he goes on to say he doesn't like these aliens. He says they complain a lot and like guilt trips on the Enterprise, but that's not why they seem. But that's not why they seem Asian.
Oh, jeez.
A moon is about to crash into their planet, and the Enterprise shows up to stop it from happening. And it seems like all they do is complain, like the Enterprise isn't trying hard enough, or to talk about how many people will die if the Enterprise screws up, even though they aren't doing anything at all. I think it is complete BS when people act like this, and I'm sick of it. It's not my fault that my mom is a fucking loser who never does anything.
What?
So stop getting mad at me like it is. There's so many things I hate about my life. I can't wait until I'm 18 and I don't have to deal with this shit anymore.
Oh my gosh, I hope Joshua is an adult now and that he's happier than he was in his angsty teen years. But I think it's hilarious. I hope he knows I hope we're laughing with him and not I understand.
I'm laughing with him.
Me too. I understand teen angst, so I get it.
That's funny, man. That really is.
Wow.
So next episode.
Then we go on to Tin Man, of course.
Oh.
Awesome episode. And Tin Man's a Troy Data combo split, but mostly Troy, of course.
Question: Did any of you ever have any expectations to see Tin Man again?
Yes, I would have liked to have seen him again, but at the same time, like when I watched it this time, I actually thought like some stories are actually just complete as they are, and I mean like the idea is that he's off with Tam. They're like exploring probably another galaxy, maybe even like I'm sure they've gone. I mean, if the Tin Man alien / ship is able to do some of these things like beam data 300 million light years from one one place to another, and he's able to like fling the Enterprise and the Romulan ship back to their back to their territories like nothing. I can only imagine the propulsion is probably interdimensional or something else. So who knows what's going on where Tin Man is. I forget, did we ever get exploration in the expanded universe about Tin Man? Did he come back in that sense? Do you know?
I remember I covered it, and I think the answer is no.
Oh, okay.
No, I think there's a few brief mentions of what this guy did previously before he went aboard Tin Man. What's the name of the guy?
Tam Elbrum.
Tam Elbrum. But I personally, I mean, that's Tin Man's one of my favorite episodes of this season, if not the entire show. And I would have I mean, this is a character. I mean, if not Tin Man, then maybe other from his race. I don't know. Like, I just would have liked to have. That's something I would have liked to have seen one more story.
Right. Well, the episode establishes that the Tin Man is the last of its kind.
He thinks he's the last of his kind.
Oh, right. That's true.
He could be wrong.
You're right.
But I would have liked to have seen more. I would have liked to have seen more mileage out of the story. I mean, it's excellent as it is. Don't get me wrong, but I love it. But I love it so much. I wish I would have seen more. And Tam is an excellent character as well.
Yeah, the episode
really like
beautifully executed, beautifully performed, beautifully directed. The music also, we pointed out, was I think this one was Jones.
Chataway.
What was it? Oh, Chataway. Sorry, Chataway.
Yeah.
And the build up and some of the cues in this episode were just astonishingly beautiful. And then that sound that Gum2 makes. Hollow Pursuits. Doctor, you were not there for this episode, but this is a very personally important episode for Gary. He can relate to Barkley in a very profound way, and that was very touching and nice that you shared that with us. But also, just another great episode. Season 3 is really great.
And I have the coolest prop.
Yes. Have you seen the...
Wait, remind me? I did see it. I don't remember.
Our discussion for Hollow Pursuits?
Wait, is that the one where you're showing the cat?
No.
Painting? No.
He has a stick of broccoli that he had on to represent Barkley.
Oh, I may have only listened
to it. Yeah. See, you miss a lot. If you guys are listening to our show, you miss a lot of these weird.
And I always say that.
We're always doing some weird kooky things, but at the same time,
guilty of it. Yeah.
You might not be missing much. Not to put too much importance on our kookiness. We're creepy and we're kooky, mysteriously.
Yeah, but this episode for me is, as you said, it's personally a really really touching one. So I definitely, this episode is and especially the character of Barkley, is something that really connects me in a deep level. But yeah, it's only in the discussion, so I'm not gonna talk about it again. It's a really good episode.
Yeah, and so Doctor, you were not on the Hollow Pursuits episode, and I'm just curious if you had any notes or thoughts about it that you recall about the episode, other than, of course, the wonderful Mad Dog Murdoch.
Mad Dog Murdoch. The great Dwight Schultz. I mean, I was a huge A-Team fan, so seeing Murdoch on Star Trek to me was great. I mean, I still feel that Next Generation's treatment of the holodeck is a bit naive looking back on it now. And I mean, this kind of touches on like hollow porn or something at times. I mean, with Crusher and Troy. I mean, but this, I mean, I think I said before, it's an unusual episode in that it's, and I think it shows that this season, everybody just felt more confident about the show, because I mean, to introduce a character like Barkley, as they did, where, there's no guarantees that the audience is going to accept this guy. I mean, this character, we didn't know him from before, and he's kind of a low level, you know, ranking character, and the whole episode is him, and really the cast reacting to him, not a cast member reacting to him. So it's a you know, it's a two play. It's really Dwight Schultz's show, and they just kind of just hand it over to him, and I think it's very daring for Next Generation to have done something like that at this point. I mean, really, you know, John Delancey is that type of actor. You know, they just, when he's Q and he shows up, they just hand it over to him. What's her name? Michelle Barrett. You know, they just Roddenberry. They just hand it over to her. So I think it shows the maturity of the show.
And just, I mean, I really think Dwight Schultz is the only person that could have pulled this off. It was a role tailor made, I think, for him. Even if it wasn't, it just feels that way. Moving on to the most toys, which there's not much to say about it. It's also one of our shortest discussions. I think the doctor and I recalled.
That's an interesting image. I hadn't really noticed the second. Can you go back to it?
Oh yeah, sure.
It's Data, and then what's on the other side?
It's the guy with the magnifying glass.
Oh,
The merchant guy.
Kiva Spargo.
No, I
that's
think
an interesting
his
image.
business opponent. I think.
Oh, sorry, you're right. You're right.
Oh,
we did find out, interestingly enough, that the episode was fraught with some challenges because the original actor who was in Time Bandits,
David Rappaport.
Thank you, David Rappaport, who was originally cast for this, ended up attempting or committing suicide before the production was able to complete. There's actually even test footage apparently in the deleted scenes, as you, or I think William Peck pointed that out to us. And then, so anyways, yeah, it's crazy. This episode, for what it is, it's the only thing interesting about it, I thought, was that there's a question at the end as to whether or not Data actually pulled the trigger and was gonna shoot, because he kind of doesn't really own up to it when he's beamed aboard at the end. So that was like a curious and weird thing. But it's an anomaly as far as Data is concerned, and we never really go back to any of these themes, I don't think.
Chapman here writes,
Oh,
we never learned the name of the aliens that this woman comes from. That we're talking about, the girl that's killed. She's a crew member on Kiva Fajo's ship, and she tries to help Data escape, but she is killed. There is a disruptor lying on the floor between her and Fajo, and she tries to dive for it, but she does a really bad job. I am good at running, but most things I'm good at running, but most things in gym that I am awful at, and even I could do a better job than she did. She basically just falls on the ground without jumping for it at all. One of the things I really like about my new school is that there aren't dumb gym classes like we used to have. They mostly just make us run laps. The worst thing at my old school's gym class was they made us do a sit-up competition, and they told us to do them in a certain way, but I was the only one who did. Everyone else basically cheated, and so the only person I did better than was the kid who had cerebral palsy.
Oh, no.
I know I am bad at sports, but that's still BS.
Wow.
It feels like every of his statements end up with a BS.
That's pretty weird. Okay, we now
Getting there.
We're almost at the end, guys. We're getting through it. We go to Sarek. That's the. There's just nothing to say. This is another one where you should go. You should go and tune into our discussion of the episode. Beautiful graphic, nice shot of Ambassador Sarek here, from the show. And we just, again, I just have to say Mark Leonard is just such a gem. and what a really neat thing for the Next Generation to get not only a character from the original series, but the actor who portrayed him to reprise that role on screen, and then now become a part of Star Trek: The Next Generation's rich story.
And he might become as a character in the story of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's a big deal in Discovery, so I'm very curious to see and see how that's handled. What was I going to say? That was a Picard episode.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Hands down.
Hands down.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
We're keeping our tally here, a little casual and informal.
We're at the 2-hour mark, by the way, sir.
I know. Character tally. Right. We're almost there. Hey, these are always long, the recaps, if you remember. So we'll brush through this one really quickly. Menage a Trois, Troy.
I didn't see this one.
Use your French.
You actually, if I recall, Doctor, refused to watch this one.
Wow.
That graphic. I've never seen that planet that I'm seeing here.
That's Beta Z. That's Beta Z.
Really? I've never seen Beta Z before. Wow.
It's actually quite lovely. The restoration or the remaster. I think the clouds are moving in the background. There's a little bit of movement in there, but it's a really pretty set. It's a cute little caper type mystery / kidnapping episode, and I really thought it was a fun little episode, and especially now that she's gone, it's really kind of just charming to see Majel Barrett Roddenberry on screen. And that reminds me, I want to do a little plug. There's a new feature on Starfleet Boy called Starfleet Boy Academy, where we're just going to be exploring a lot of things that make Star Trek what it is. And my first episode, I started with Gene Roddenberry, of course, the creator, V'ger's creator, V'ger's real creator in Star Trek.
A very beautiful and informational video. So I'll have to give you a lot of credit for that. It's brilliant, honestly. I told you off camera as well before, and
thank you.
About that, but it's guys, anyone who listens to this podcast, go and check it out. It's amazing, honestly. This guy pays a really good homage to Roddenberry, so go and check it out today.
In just now. Under 5 minutes too, so it's pretty quick.
And you have some great photos. I love the photo you had of Gene Roddenberry and his wife that you used in the video. I mean, you had some great photos in there.
Well, there's a lot of great material about Gene Roddenberry. What I say in the description is go to roddenberry.com, of course, to see what the legacy of Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek is, and that actually, I don't want to belabor our recap and change subject too long, but we should at some point talk about how there is the Roddenberry Star Trek and then the post Roddenberry Star Trek. I think that would be something fun to talk about at some point. But anyways, moving on, we finally get to
the morph suit,
the weird morph suit, and I love that Gary. That's you can actually see it really well in this image that you chose for the graphic.
Oh my
god! so there's the suit, and you can just clearly tell. Unfortunately, this is an instance where I have to say that it's a fail, a special effects fail, because you can just tell with the wrinkles around the neck and on the head there that he's wearing a suit. Must have been very strange to act opposite of that. But that's definitely a Crusher-centric episode, and I really kind of liked it. And I thought it was a good, hard science fiction type theme and story, and I like that about it too.
And we got Geordi's back as well with his dealing in finding love in the wrong places, but then he finds love in still the wrong places, but at least he's changed because of the touch of this John Doe.
Oh yeah, that was a weird thing, and that there's like John Doe kind of comes along. He's a little bit of a Deus ex machina figure, because just magically changes Geordi from like what we were talking about. So actually, this is a really good thing to talk about, because earlier in this discussion we talked about how it was really weird that Geordi is so bad with women. But in this episode, he's actually great with women. But after encountering John Doe, and he speaks to him, and he's like, I don't know what happened, but after meeting you, suddenly I have this confidence that I never felt like I had. And there's a talk about it that Riker has with Geordi in the turbo lift, where he's like the new Geordi. He even calls it the new Geordi. So yeah. Geordi has, I think that either consciously or subconsciously, the writers were like, yeah, we're not gonna make Geordi a nerd anymore, you know, or like or a spaz or something like that. So
well, that was a good shot. That was a good episode, and a good touchdown in Geordi's personal life as well.
A good change for him. And then of course, the episode of all episodes, possibly the greatest Star Trek episode, this and its sequel, The Best of Both Worlds Part 1.
Which reminds me, I have to change the graphics for this one because it says Part 1 and 2.
I think it's that's right. You could do that at your leisure.
I'll do that.
We changed our minds. We were gonna do The Best of Both Worlds as Part 1 and 2, but we decided not to go off the format. We decided that it is important to keep these discussions per season, and just like we waited for that summer, and you waited for a week, Gary, the audience will wait for 1 week to hear our conclusion to our discussion about The Best of Both Worlds. Not, you know, obviously this is a Riker. We decided it's a Riker-centric episode, but the whole crew really comes into play here. And then, of course, just as much as it's about Riker, it's definitely a lot about Captain Picard as well. So that's the season, guys.
There we go.
So on my little casual and informal tally here, I just want to recap the recap. So episode 1 was Wesley centric, episode 2 was Data centric, episode 3 was Troy centric, 4 Picard centric, 5 Worf centric, so on and so forth. It turns out that Picard is prominent. There's 4 Picard centric episodes this season. There's 3.5 Riker centric episodes. I'm saying 0.5 because Riker, you know, plays, you know, the ones that it's like Troy Riker, things like that, right? There's 3.5 Data episodes this season. There's 2 Worf episodes, 3.5 Troy episodes, 2 Dr. Crusher episodes, 2 Geordi episodes, and 1 Wesley episode. So that's
wait, didn't you say there was? Oh, there's 1 Wesley episode, right?
Yeah, one Wesley.
So then we're seeing. Are we seeing the? Are they writing off Wesley? Is that what we're seeing? We're seeing that's a trend, definitely. I mean, as opposed to earlier seasons where Wesley was saving the ship every damn day. Right?
Finally, yes, because otherwise I just got fed up with Wesley for a while. I didn't like it because of this.
Mind you, though, that's not. I don't think that's accurate. Well, I mean, they are kind of writing Wesley off. We know what happens to Wesley later on, but at the same time, even though these were the main focuses of the episodes, like I still feel that, like, because Wesley is in like little moments through. I mean, there's the whole thing where in a different episode, which episode was that? Where it was this season where Wesley's supposed to go off to the academy, and he ends up, it's Menage a Troy, where where Wesley actually misses his boat to the academy in order to decipher the signal that was bothering him, because he heard that do 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 in the static from Riker's message to his SOS message from the Ferengi Marauder. But yeah, I think that it's interesting to see that, like, you know, that's actually not an unfair distribution if you think about it. You know, Picard has 4 episodes. Riker and Data each get, Riker, Data, and Troy, funny enough, each get 3.5 episodes. Worf, Crusher, and Geordi get 2 episodes, and Wesley gets 1 episode. So I think that's kind of
like almost more or less equally, you know, shared between the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm pretty sure in season 1 or season 2, the actually it would be nice to see now from you made this up, how the first 2 season was in terms of episode, how many episode Picard or Riker or Data got.
We
Be
can
nice
tell
to-
when we do our season 7 and finale discussion of
Oh
the
my
entire,
God.
the entire series.
What?
Don't you think we should do like an extravaganza at the end of our thing? Maybe we'll see we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. He's like, no.
We should do something like what I did with the animated series. I mean, I watched the animated series, I reviewed every episode, and then I had a week haul on different aspects of the animated series. So it would be actually fun.
Yeah, it might be fun. We'll see what happens when we get there. By the way, that is also a really cool feature of your channel. All right, I think we're done.
That's too much free commercial.
I think we're done with our like recap of season 3. I'm just curious in terms of your like just not considering too much the entire series. Where does season 3 rank for you guys? Like, what would you give it as a rating? And like, is there any other thought that you want to express about season 3 before we finish up?
Well, I think it's definitely the strongest season
Ever
Of
of the
3.
whole of the 3 we've seen.
of the 3 that we've seen
Yeah,
so far.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, I can't. I mean, right now I can't. I don't know which episode is from what season overall, but from in the exercise of this rewatch that we're doing, I would definitely say season 3 is the strongest. I think we've seen some classic episodes of Next Generation that sort of define the series. Certainly, the season finale is one of the best episodes of the entire Star Trek, canon. Episodes like Sarek and Yesterday's Enterprise and Tin Man, for me, I think speak to the strengths of Next Generation as a show. And like, if I were to recommend the show to somebody who knew nothing about Next Generation, I would say go watch Tin Man. Go watch,
Who watches
there
the
are,
Watchers?
right? Who watches the Watchers? There are episodes that are in this season that are that I think can hook new viewers who are not familiar with Star Trek like that. And I think certain characters gain a lot of character development, and the season produced a lot of new characters that return later on, and I'm happy about that. It produced some characters I wished I had come back. No, I think it's stronger than the first season, and I think it's stronger than the second season.
Very nice.
I totally have to agree with the Doctor. I mean, season 3 has really good episodes, and I think if I have to remember any of the episodes and memorable episodes from the first 3 season, definitely season 3 has more into it than season 1 and 2. Obviously, season 1 and 2 has good episodes as well. I mean, there's quite a few that actually I really enjoy revisiting all the time, like Elementary Day, Data 4, just saying something. So that's definitely something. Season 3 that's a really good continuation of what they started with the Next Generation from from season 1 and 2. It's really kicks off. But yeah, I personally, as I mentioned before, I really most memorable is the Hollow Pursuit for me because of the personal reasons, and Manager Troy because of Miss Roddenberry.
Personal reasons.
Personal reasons, obviously, yes. We share the same birthday. A different year, though. but yeah, it's as I totally agree with the Doctor. It's one of the best out of the 3. It's the best season so far.
All right, and I'm gonna have to say I agree 100%. Best season so far in our rewatch. it's really great. I think this is where Star Trek: The Next Generation. I totally think you should watch season 1 and season 2 if you really want to get into Star Trek. But here's where it starts to really get exciting, and I think if I recall correctly, there's a lot more excitement in store. That wraps up our discussion. Unless there's anything else, any other thoughts, guys? No, cool. That wraps up our very lengthy and thorough, not quite
very lengthy. Talking about very lengthy. I was just checking your YouTube page and in terms of the length of the discussions, and obviously so far season 1 recap. It's just small statistics that I sometimes I love to do. Season 1 recap took only 42 minutes and 21 seconds, which is interesting. Then season 2 recap took,
which was a shorter season,
right?
Shorter season, yeah. Season 2 took 1 hour and 5 minutes, almost 1 hour and 6 minutes actually.
Wow.
We are now at 2 hours and 16 minutes.
It's a really great season. There's
2 hours and 16 minutes, and the longest episode, the longest discussion section, and 2 hours and 17 minutes 25 seconds is the search of Spock. That if it's still going on, probably gonna exceed.
Gotta stop.
Oh, okay.
I'm gone.
We still have like 5-6 seconds, and we are
bye
breaking the record in here.
All right, well, I'm gonna sign off too. So live long and prosper, everybody, and see you next time.
Live long and prosper.